Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gaps with Two Connections with Darla Williams. And today I am featuring Michael Peter Langevin. What?
Langevin.
Langevin, I practiced. I had to that name, I had to practice. No.
It's been goofed up from continent to continent.
So today on the show, we are bringing in Michael to present his book, but a little bit about Michael before we get there. I want to go ahead and let you guys hear a little bit more so you know who he is, what he's about, and why he does what he does. Michael is widely known in the field of the occult, shamanic transformation, magic, mysticism, and the undefinable. Michael is greatly enhanced the way many people view physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social wellness. At the core of the teaching lies the transformation of consciousness, a spiritual awakening that he sees as the next step in human evolution, transcending our present limiting worldview. This is a prerequisite not only for personal happiness, but also for ending the violent conflicts in our planet. Michael was the CEO of CSI Media and the founder of Magical Blend magazine, called the most open-minded magazine in the world. By the publishers of Book of the Month Club, Natural Health and Beauty magazine, Transitions magazine, and the Echo World magazine, Michael was the host of the Magical Blend TV show and has been interviewed on a myriad of radio shows and podcasts. His writings have appeared in numerous anthologies and publications. Michael has authored 4 books: Spiritual Business, The Secrets of Ancient Incas, The Secrets of Amazon Shamans, and Travel Tales from Unknown Realities. For all his life, Michael has been exploring the occult and ancient mysteries, traveling and studying with many shamans, magicians, holy men, and gifted physics all over the world. Michael has been conducting workshops and lectures worldwide since 1985. So today, without any further ado, welcome, Michael, to Bridging the Gap to Connections.
Thank you, Darla. It's great to be here.
So, Michael, today we're going to be talking about your new book. Can you tell me which one of those 4 titles we're going to be covering today?
Travel Tales from Unknown Realities is my latest book.
Nice. Nice. Do you have anything right there you wanted to say?
I'm excited about this book. The other books I've written were talking about certain experiences and periods of my life. My wife is a Nordic witch from Sweden, and we've been together 12 years, I think. And at one point, a couple of years back, she said, "You keep telling me these stories and they're not in any of your books. You need to put them down and get a new book out." So this is a story of a ton of magical things that have taken place in my life, from growing up in a funeral home and the son of a funeral director to seeing gods and goddesses at Machu Picchu. I've tried to put them down because I've been blessed to have a very magical life. I'm sort of a magnet to mystical experiences. And I want people to know that just because I've had some amazing experiences, what that means more than anything is that magic is real and we can all live magical lives to whatever degree we choose.
I absolutely agree that we do have an ability to live a magical life, and it is a tale that really truly does begin within. I can really relate to that. Myself personally, I've lived and transformed my life in many ways. So I can really, have a testament to that. However, I want to go ahead and read just a little bit of what information you gave me on the book, so others out there who are listening in can actually begin getting an idea of where we're going in today's topic. So today we're talking about travel tales from unknown realities. This is a new book you should enjoy. Haven't we all thrilled in a stirring tale of mysteries happening that defy rational explanation? Occultists have long believed that supernatural powers do exist. Whether they act for good or evil, most of us have experienced eerie and unnatural phenomenons at one time or another. Such experiences make us realize that forces which we cannot comprehend operate in our universe. They convince us that, as Hamlet said, there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of. The tales in this collection grip the spine and provide the reader with a captivating recapitulation of wild experiences and adventures. This collection of stories exists to let others see the world and things therein as few see them. It overflows with a wide array of metaphysical, not mysticism, but metaphysical experiences from New England to Africa, from Latin America to Europe. It is guaranteed to leave the readers scratching their heads in amazement. I am so intrigued, Michael, to tell you, with what I have read about what you're doing and the conversations that we've had so far. I myself am intrigued in what your line of work and what you're doing. So before I get into some real specific questions, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to getting to here today?
Sure, sure, Dal. I'd be honored. Thank you for the introduction. That was lovely. As I said, I grew up in a funeral home. My father was a funeral director. I was one of 6 kids, and my father often needed help in the funeral home, so I was always around helping out. When you do that, you get exposed to a number of strange occurrences. I'm a firm believer in ghosts. Believe I've talked to them. They've enhanced my lives, and that was a great starting place. As I was progressing, early on, I don't know if I was 13, I was riding my pony out in the forest and had an extraterrestrial UFO experience. Never quite explained it, but pretty sure they did something and altered my path. As I went through life, I spoke with ghosts, believed in ghosts, and told other people about it. Many people told me not to. And then when I was in high school, I met the witches in Salem. Lori Cabot, to this day, is the head witch of Salem. Wonderful woman, brilliant woman. And she and her people gave me an introduction to witchcraft and paganism. I immediately drove to Cambridge, Mass, and bought myself my own tarot deck, and then did tarot readings for everyone I met. Wow. In college, I had a Latin American history teacher who had just gotten back from Latin America and thought it was the most amazing place in the world, and especially Peru and Cusco and Machu Picchu. By the time that semester was over, I didn't feel I had a choice but to go to Latin America. So I didn't have enough money. I hitchhiked from Boston to Miami and bought a round trip ticket for 6 weeks and landed in Lima with $30 in my pocket. Due to the wonderful, hot-scented way of relating to people that the Peruvians have, I was handed off from one family to another and got to travel all around Peru and had recommendations for when I came back I wasn't planning on coming back when I went there, but by the time I left, I really had no choice. At Machu Picchu, I had almost unbelievable experiences. My premise is that the old gods and goddesses and all the pantheons still exist, always did exist. I don't think they compete with the all divine, but I think that there's a place for them, that they can communicate and influence us. And I believe that I had a past life in Peru and had some work to do with them and had some amazing visions in Machu Picchu that struck that home. I made a deal with the gods and goddesses. I have good words of warning. Don't make deals with gods and goddesses. But I said, if they let me go back to Boston and finish my degree and start a real life, I'd do whatever they wanted. Well, that made for a very interesting next number of years. I finished college. I moved to San Francisco. I kept going back to Latin America every time I could save enough money and have and because of my letters of introduction from the first trip, I ended up meeting all kinds of shamans and magic workers and elders all over the Amazon and the Andes Mountains, and started Magical Blend magazine, which started in my living room and ended up do good part to magic, become an international publication distributed in all 50 states and all provinces and 33 other countries. And then I ended up adopting my children from Peru, who are two of my best friends in the world. They're in their 30s now, and they're great people. I'm really proud of and honored to have in my life. Because I love to travel and I love to write, and I love to study magic and mysticism and the things that other people aren't sure exist, I've had some great experiences.
Really sounds like it. That is absolutely an extensive life. You've really lived it out loud. You've had the experience.
Yeah, I kind of, when I was in the funeral home growing up, I had the feeling that death floated over my left shoulder. And ever since then, when I'm ever in doubt what action to take, I look over my left shoulder and say, should I? And death says, I could take you at any moment. Go for it. Well, that's gotten me in a lot of trouble. Almost killed a number of times. Went through a couple of bankruptcies. But overall, it has given me just phenomenal life and phenomenal experiences.
Well, it is interesting, to hear someone who has been able to really, truly dive into the supernatural, to actually talk to someone who really does hear and see and know that there are ghosts, that there are apparitions, that there are things that are living in the in-between. Not many people really do connect to the in-between. Most people see the black and white of every day. And here I am sitting with someone who really is able to experience and tell stories of such the interesting worlds that lie between the natural and the supernatural. I love this. I love this.
I kind of see reality as an onion, and we live, in one little slice of the onion in the center, and that's our material worldview. But there's so many other slices, and anyone can tap into them with the desire and the work and practice. You can accomplish anything. Most people have had the experience of having the phone ring and knowing who was calling, of thinking one of their relatives when they passed contacted them, of knowing things without knowing why they know them. That's all just the tip of the iceberg of what we can all do, I think.
I agree 100%. I myself have special, I call them special gifts. I was given ability to see between the veil. I am aware of a lot of things a lot of times before. So I really do understand that. And I do know that sometimes trauma itself can open the door to you being able to see beyond. So sometimes people who've gone through trauma also access because of the fact that it just sort of throws them into it before they even know. So I just wanted to share that with those out there who are struggling, thinking that they're seeing things or hearing things. I want you all to know that maybe you may just be experiencing a little bit of the other side. And you may want to talk to someone
Exactly.
that is in this realm that knows what's really happening. I want to ask
Exactly.
you.
I
Go
I
ahead.
ended up along the line getting my master's in social work and therapy, and I do a lot of work in the psychological realms, which is very gratifying because a lot of people just need to be told that what they're going through is okay, um, and yet a lot of people I've met in that realm will tell people who tell them they're hearing voices or they're having experiences, that's not real. You need to put that aside. You're going crazy. But in truth, if we have someone who can validify what we're going through, then we can take it to all kinds of levels and still function in the world. I had one person tell me that I was the craziest person they had ever met, and they didn't know how I was functioning in the world. Well, be that as it may, I've done pretty well in the real material world.
See, and that's where we can give hope to other people out there that are struggling right now, that there is hope on the other side and that you can use what you have to be able to help other people. That is
Exactly. Like you say,
a blessing.
trauma is a great catalyst. What the world is going through now, I don't care your political beliefs or spiritual beliefs, we're going through a time of change. And it's intense, and a lot of people are living in fear. And if we use that trauma in our own lives, not to be in fear, but to be in hope and to hold clear to what we want our lives to become, we can just be surfers on the waves of change and ride through it untouched and come out better for the experiences.
Exactly. Well, Michael, with I want to ask, what are unknown realities?
There you go. And we've already been talking about them. It's the other layers of the onion. Um, Astral realms exist. Uh, People write books about lucid dreaming and astral traveling. Uh, there's the whole level of Duke University has done experiments with uh, ESP, and telepathy exists. Ghosts, I believe, exists, and other entities who vibrate at a different level from us exist and can be contacted. We talked about the gods and goddesses. Carlos Castaneda and other shamans have written about allies and beings that aren't human. Uh, there are, I believe, countless dimensions and other planets where there is life far beyond what we are in this world of humans, and they can be contacted on the astral planes with practice and belief. I mean, a lot of magic takes belief, desire, and expectancy. You have to break out of what you've been taught and desire strongly to find out other answers, and then expect that you're going to get results. With those elements, we can come, and a strong intent, we can come to a place where we can learn astral traveling or lucid dreaming or telepathy. I basically believe that as the years go by, the next 5 or so years, much of humanity is going to have many of these more abilities. And we can teach ourselves to astral travel, to leave our bodies and to go to any place on the planet or other dimensions where we want to have experiences and find answers.
Well, if we open ourselves up, I think what you're saying right there is if we open ourselves up to allow for the flow to come in from above, so below, when we literally live in that, we're allowing that flow to free flow into this natural so that we all have superpowers. We just don't know how to tap into them yet. And we're in the process of doing
Exactly.
that now.
That term is an ideal term that I use a lot. As is above, so is below. I do. It's not a commercial, but I will do a little plug for myself. I do readings, tarot readings, bone readings, voodoo bones in New Orleans, and coca leaf readings, which are big in Latin America. All they are is prophetic tools that let the universe and other beings speak through me to help the people I'm reading for. And we all have that ability, whether it's reading tea leaves or clouds, that to read what the messages that the universe is giving us. A lot of us call them synchronicities. And synchronicities is just the universe slapping us aside the head and say, "Hey, pay attention."
I've had that cast iron skillet a couple times on my own life.
We all have.
So, so would you say that what you were just talking about would have a lot to do with how we get to having these experiences by using
I'd say there's a lot of. I'd
mediums?
say there's a lot of tools that can be used, whether it's prayer, meditation, song, chanting, dance, ceremony, ritual, working in your garden, cooking an exquisite meal, painting a picture. All of these are doorways that we open up our souls, we open up our hearts to possibilities, and we can bring in otherworldly experiences from unknown realities, if you will.
Right. Do you think anyone can experience these things as you have?
I do. I really do. Right now, I work part time with diagnosed youth, and a lot of kids have been lost into video games, especially if they come from broken homes. And I'm not out there to convert anyone or corrupt anyone, but giving them tools to make sure that just because they're diagnosed, they're not crazy, I think is important. And I've worked with kids, teenagers, and younger who, because of their exposure to video games and their imaginations, take immediately to the thought that they can have lucid dreams and control their dreams, and that they can have even astral travel in their dreams. It's really a small step when you're a 17-year-old and you're having a troubled life to say, well, maybe I can take control of things. Maybe I don't have to have nightmares. And I think we can all do that. I've worked with a number of people in a number of different capacities in the years. I even taught ex-cons how to re-enter society for a while. And they too were, because of their traumas, were very open to talking about metaphysical tools that they could use to make their re-entry more palatable.
Well, I think that that is something, like I was saying at the beginning with you, where we were discussing how, with the trauma, it opens doors to it. I think because we're seeing things, we're understanding things. It's a covering of, like you were saying, the onion layering. It opens that access point where there is the ability to connect and see life on a bigger spectrum. And it allows us to use a lot more of our brain capacity, is what I've come to learn, is that we're learning to use more of our brain matter when we are actually in after those experiences. But I want to ask.
Very much so. And go ahead. I think very much so. I think our third eye, our pineal gland, our connectedness to spiritual knowledge and intuition and the psychic abilities is very easy to access and to open, and that we can do that. I even work. I do workshops and I do one-on-one mentoring for people that any people who come, I don't need them to be addicted to me. I'd rather they weren't. I'd rather I am just a catalyst to open them up to possibilities, to get their life back on track, or to open up to their true potential. And you're right, accessing the powers of our mind and the powers of our heart and the powers of our spirit.
Yes, exactly. Well, so in your opinion, why don't most people believe in or experience these things as you have?
I blame society. Um, I think organized religion is a great thing. People who belong to a religion and it works for them, I say, God bless you, Buddha bless you, Muhammad bless you. But they all come with a certain set of beliefs. And one of them is that you need someone to speak to the divine for you. If we can step back from that and say, maybe that's a good and valid path, but maybe I can speak and access the divine. Then our society, if you say you saw a ghost, if you say you knew who was going to call you, if you say your grandmother came and gave you a secret, they laugh you out of the room. That is very strong peer control. It takes a real strong spirit to say, I'm going to maybe believe something extra, maybe entertain the thought that something more is out there, and then I'm going to explore it. Our society is telling us no. Our society doesn't want enlightened, self-realized beings because they don't buy their kind of toothpaste, um, or their kind of car. They find the answers elsewhere. And I think that by stepping out of that and saying, maybe I'm being programmed, maybe I can break just some of that program. One of the things I tell people to do is just set aside one weekend morning or one evening afternoon where you don't turn on your computer and you don't turn on your phone, but you go into a state of prayer or meditation or trance, and you try to access your own spiritual abilities and the greatest spiritual abilities. That and dream work really can open up just volumes of our personalities we're almost unaware of.
100% agree with you in that. I think that there needs to be a space where I think if I had my hand in it, I would be trying to help people more understand that every religion is important and all of them have a piece and they need to come together and no longer be separate. We all need to weave together because there's a big picture. If all religions in all aspects actually formed an alliance together and began feeding the story, we would get a much more vast view of what actually it means if we would no longer be separate and, you know, and actually build together in unity. But that's just me and where I'd do it if I could.
I think the transitional times we're in is coming to a time in the future where there's a whole nother understanding of reality. People understand their strength and power. There's a waking up going on around the planet. And as ugly as it might get and as sad as it might get and how we feel people's pain that we can't immediately help, it's birth pangs that are getting us to a time where there is a better grasp of what reality really is and what spirituality really is.
That's a great way to explain it. I love that, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you then believe in all forms of magic and the occult?
All forms. You know, I like to say I believe in anything until it's disproven, and then I still believe in it a little. Um, I, I think I have met people. A good example is ceremonial magicians. I'm not a ceremonial magician. I do magic more in a chaotic shamanic way. But ceremonial magicians, as in the alchemists of the past, they use very, very specific steps, and some of them have been written 200 years ago, and some of them they prescribe for now. They work. It's not for me, but I've been in those ceremonies where they work. I think I don't black magic I define differently than a lot of people, but we won't go into that now. But I think that magic that hurts other people is black magic. Magic that benefits you at the expense of other people is black magic. It's done in corporate world and it's done in magic. I believe in that, but I strongly disapprove of it and tell people to stay away from it.
I think there's a lot more behind the black magic than people realize, and people do things every day and they don't even realize they're doing it.
Well, that's it. I mean, we don't have time to go into the chakras,
Yeah.
but if you, at a period of time in my life, I was desperate to be a salesman, and I was younger, much younger, and I ran my energies from my power center, to my throat, right around my heart. Well, I had great sales, but it was costing me on a lot of levels, and I think a lot of people do that in a lot of ways. That we don't integrate our full being, and we don't do it with conscious and caring.
Exactly. Can people, what I love here is one of the questions is peeking here is, can people vanish if they learn how?
They can. I, do we have enough time for a story?
I'm okay as long as you are. Well, this is for
I'm
you.
good. One of my favorite shamanic meetings was Vanishing Eddie. I I, uh, I was in northern Bolivia. I had heard about this shaman who had real amazing, unique powers. I found my way to one of the old rubber cities because they used to harvest rubber in the Amazon back before we figured out how to make it synthetically. And in that village, I met the shaman in a bar. And I brought him a good bottle of rum and some cigarettes because shamans love presents, and begged him to teach me his magic. After a long conversation, he said, "Okay, meet my apprentice here at the bar this evening, and he'll take you out to my magical shed in the jungle." I did. It was a long hike, and I had doubts and fears. Where was I being taken? What was going to happen at the other end? But we got to this. We got to this hut, and Eddie was there. In a lot of Latin America, people eat guinea pigs because they didn't have fowl before the Europeans came, and guinea pigs were their fowl. So since the Europeans have come and brought chickens, guinea pigs have stayed as part of, and they're very delicious, especially in a peanut sauce. But they, yeah, you got to be there to experience it. But it's a wonderful, it's a wonderful experience. Their huts have very high door sills so that the guinea pigs can't jump out. And this is in a lot of Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, Chile. And Eddie had a bunch of guinea pigs. We sat down and had tea, he and his apprentice and I. And I was hearing these popping noises, and the guinea pigs were disappearing. After a while, I was like, "Eddie, was there anything in this tea?" He said, "No, there's nothing but tea in the tea." I said, "Are guinea pigs disappearing?" And he said, "Yes, that's what I do." And then they all appeared back again. Then Eddie disappeared. And then, I don't know, 5, 7 minutes later, he walked back in the door from outside. I said, "Eddie, you didn't leave. How could you be coming back in?" He laughed and said, "That's what I do." And then he disappeared again. This time it was longer. I said to his apprentice, what do we do?" And he said, "Just wait, he'll be back." Eddie reappeared. I had just moved to Northern California. Eddie had a bouquet of yellow thistle that really mainly grows in Northern California. And he said, "I picked this from where you're living. You live in such a beautiful place." I said, "Eddie, how did you get there, get it back?" He laughed, and then he disappeared again. He and me and the apprentice waited for probably an hour and a half. And then the apprentice said, "Oh, he does this sometimes. He doesn't like to teach what he does, so he just goes to the bar in town." So we hiked back, and there was Eddie sitting in the bar in town. And I said, "Eddie, this is miraculous. I've never seen such a thing. You have to take me on as your other apprentice. You have to teach me." Eddie almost fell off his bar stool. He said, "You'd make the worst apprentice in the world. I'd kill you." He said, "Your job is to go and meet other shamans and to write about them, not to become an apprentice and study. I'm not telling you anything." and, and, and that was the last time I saw Eddie. I went back another time to see if I could find him and get his secrets, and he was gone. But yeah, people can even vanish and come back. The skills that shamans have. I went down there in the 70s, and the old shamans hadn't been chased out yet by the lumbering companies and the mining companies, and were still doing the old magic. There are some still doing it, but they're harder to find. I've gone back, and they're harder and harder to find. But I was blessed to be able to meet and experience things that are out of fantasy books. They're Harry Potter and Doctor Strange, and we don't think they're real.
Wow, what a story. I think that is going to be left on me as, forever about Eddie. I will forever remember your story on Eddie. This is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I've heard and thought about a lot of shape shifting. Can people shape shift if they learn how?
Well, then again, we have another story. Yes, they can. I took my family to uh, uh, give me a minute. I think it was Suriname, the jungles of Suriname, but northern Brazil. But very isolated. We had to take a plane, and then we had to be canoed up to this isolated village where I had heard about the shaman. And we got there, and the shaman wasn't real. I mean, most of the shamans didn't want to share their information with dumb gringos who flew in. Um, so we were there, and I was trying to get him to teach me some of his magic, and then my family took sick. Well, that's pretty serious when you're in the Amazon jungle, far, far from any hospitals or doctors, and no one's coming to get you for another week. So I went to the shaman. I said, my family's really sick. I'm really worried. He said, okay, come here in an hour. We'll hike through the jungle. Okay, when a shaman says that, you do what he says. So we did. We went, the five of us went for a hike in the jungle. The shaman kept running ahead, and then a parrot would fly back. And then it'd run ahead, and then a warthog would run back. And then he'd run ahead, and then a snake would crawl quickly by. And this went on till a panther, uh, a condor flew overhead. Just amazing array of animals. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I left out an important part. At the beginning, he said, before we take the hike, you all have to lick this toad. Now, since then, we've learned that toads are very hallucinogenic. So, how much was the toad licking and how much was the shaman? I can't testify. But I did experience this, and so did my family. And when we got back, I said, was that you? Did you turn into all those animals? And he said, anyone can do it. They just have to shift their connecting points after much practice. Take your family back and rest for the evening. And in the morning, everybody was well again. Was it the toad licking? Was it the shape shifting? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that shaman shifted shapes to many different animal forms right in front of us.
A little Indian history, I would say, with American Indians, if you think about those in the Navajo or Hopi, I said it wrong, but the Hopi, they have what they call skinwalkers. And they be in that they can be seen in their actual form, or they can take the form back to the human and walk with the skins wrapped around them, but they can actually transfer too. So that is done in a lot of the American Indian history, if you look into that and look up skinwalkers. So that's just for others who are looking to look a little more with Michael's information.
Oh, sure.
Other information to dive further into it and learning more. I have one last question for you. Is spiritual faith healing real? Oh, I actually have two questions. So, but we're going to start with that one there. Is the healing faith?
Yes, it is. I've seen healings that were just miraculous. In Africa, in South America, in the Caribbean islands. How much is the person believing? How much is the placebo effect? Doesn't matter. If here in New Orleans, where I live now, they do ceremonies with the voodoo groups, and they do healings, and people come in who are in wheelchairs, and people come in who have sores all over them, and by the end of the evening, people are walking out and have no sores. There's a realm of spirit that can be contacted that what we think is impossible and miraculous is achievable with the right energies flowing.
So how can people learn to do real magic?
Well, that's it. And again, I go back to what I said: intent, belief, desire, expectancy. You have to step out of what you've been taught and what you've been taught to disbelieve and poo-poo, uh, and you have to say, well, what if it's real? And then you have to set aside time, and it can be a simple amount of time as Wednesday nights are my sacred time. I sit in my room, I sit in the park, and I do this. And then you start and you find what tools work for you. Some people chant, some people dance, some people meditate, some people pray, and and have baby step goals, little goals. I want to have a more magical experience tomorrow. I want this week to be more magical. I want to speak to my mother who passed that I didn't make peace with before she left. Any sort of thing can be achieved, and we have to believe we can do it. We have to work towards doing it, and then we have to say a key phrase is what if. Sometimes we say, "Oh, I'm not getting any results." So we say, "Well, what if I was getting results? What if it came in some way I didn't recognize it? What if angels were talking to me? What would they say?" And we write down what they would say, and pretty soon we're writing down. At first, it's things we think, and then pretty soon it's things we would have no way of knowing. Once we get out of our way and say, "What if?" or "Can I?" These things open up to us.
I agree 100%. If since we're wrapping up, how would people be able to contact you? What is your quickest route to you?
Oh, I'm pretty available online. I have, I think, 3 Facebook pages, Instagram, um, um, WhatsApp. My phone number is available online. They can email me at michaelpeterlangevin@gmail.com. I don't have a web page at the present because it just got too much to maintain and it wasn't worth the effort. But you can look me up. There's a number of videos on YouTube, and it all has. And I'm open. If people call and leave a message, or if people email me, I can usually find the time during the week to get back to people and either answer a question or set up some way to help.
Beautiful. Well, I want to tell everybody, sure that you like, subscribe, and find Michael because he's absolutely amazing. Go ahead, Michael. You were about to say something.
I like to do a little ad at the end. I do have 4 books out, and they're available on Amazon and other places. And if people like what we've talked about, there's just oodles of that in each of the books on different levels.
Go ahead and shoot me the links to all of your books because I'm going to add that as well to this video so that people can just have a quick link straight to it whenever they watch it. Also, I would like to ask you, what is one final piece that you could impart to those who are listening today that you just feel in your heart that others need to hear today?
Not fear, but hope. We are being programmed. The national news, the politicians, the corporations all want us in fear. They want us to doubt our own abilities, our own power. Don't fall for it. Go for hope. Go for belief in yourself. Concentrate on what you want in your life and the best parts of what happened each day and the best parts of what you've done.
This has been so intriguing, Michael. I am so glad that I got to do this and host you today because you are, I could sit and talk with you for hours and we could go back and forth. But that is it for today's show. Thank you all for coming in and listening. I hope subscribe, and share this information out. Please get this out to the world because we really do need more people understanding the tools, the techniques, the opportunities, the world in between. We need people to be able to connect more so that we can dive deeper into the discovery that lives within. And when you tune in and you begin meditations and you begin prayer, you'll start getting all the answers to the universe all around you. Stay tuned for the next episode of Bridging the Gap to Connections with Darla and whoever is going to be featured next.
Thank you, Darla.
Thank you, Michael.